886,342 UK soldiers killed in World War I. In World War II, it was 383,667, just UK. Since then, there have been another 7,187 UK soldiers killed in operations from Korea to Northern Ireland to the Falklands to Afghanistan and many more places too. And that's just soldiers and just UK ones. It doesn't include any civilian deaths, of which, of course, there are far, far more in war. And for every death, there are so many other injuries, and mostly their names we never hear unless we know them personally. Some soldiers with massive injuries, scarring, losing limbs, others with just as real injuries of the mind and the spirit. And all the casualties, deaths and injuries affect not just the soldier themselves, but also the families and friends, whole communities around them. There are the so-called thankful villages, communities without war memorials, where all the World War I soldiers came back, and some for those in World War II as well. There are just 14 communities in the whole of the UK where everyone came back from both wars, and not one of them is in Scotland. That means that not a single village or community in Scotland remained untouched by death of at least one of its sons in the First World War, and few in the Second. 886,342 UK soldiers killed in World War I. 383,667 in World War II, 7,187 since 1945. There are 29 names from World War I on our war memorial outside, and another 13 from World War II, and one more since from the Falklands War. A total of 43 listings. These are the numbers. Today, I wanted to look at the names. I went to the park. I went to the war memorial. I came into the church and looked at the names inside, and I believe there's a roll of honour at the school as well. I wanted to look at their names and get to know them, because they were real people, young men for the most part, some of them really still boys, and they grew up around here, lived their lives and laughed and loved. And then they were gone, because they were marched off to war, at first full of hope and excitement, and then reality came. And for these 43, at different times, their lives were cut short. And a good number of the others never really recovered either. In Invergowrie, there's the Memorial Park, and also now the War Memorial too. And it seems as if the park's where we can remember their lives. After all, they were boys who no doubt themselves got up to hijinks sometimes. And at the memorial, we remember their deaths when they no longer came home. And their names. I have called you by name. You are mine. We read from Isaiah. Called by name. The name is important. Our names are important. It's who we are, who we become, something very close and intimate. Every soldier has a number. My father, who just missed the war as he was 17 and a half when it ended in Europe, and so was fully expecting to be sent to fight in the Far East, he could reel his number off as if it was yesterday. And as well as a number, a soldier has a rank and a surname, and often it's by these surnames or by nicknames that they're known to each other as well. But when God says in Isaiah, I have called you by name, you are mine, it means our real names. The names we're called by our close family and friends and our Heavenly Father as well. So on our war memorial, there's an Adrian, 2 Alexanders, 2 Arthurs, 1 Benjamin, 1 Charles, 4 Davids, 3 Georges, a Hunter, 6 Jameses, 5 Johns, a Norman, a Peter, a Richard, 3 Roberts, 2 Thomases, 1 Walter, and 8 Williams. Although I bet that actually there were Jimmies and Dodds and Willies and Brabs and Davies. I've called you by name, you are mine. God knows us by name. Each of us, whoever we are, knows us and loves us, cares for us and values us, and then teaches us to love one another. The passage from John included the quote on many war memorials, greater love hath no man than this. And it continues that he lays down his life for his friends. Soldiers say that when it comes down to it, they do what they do, not so much for Queen and country at that particular moment, but for the man or woman next to them, the colleague and friend with whom they work, and who support each other and trust each other with their lives. You love those you know and care for and work beside. You can't just love numbers, you love people. World population is edging towards 8 billion now. We may care deeply about everyone in the world, believe that they have an equal right to live in freedom and peace, including freedom from poverty, but it can be hard to understand the reality of that, which is why news reports focus on particular stories of particular people to help us understand situations of famine or earthquake or conflict or disease. I have called you by name, God says. You are mine, each of us. The vast numbers, each one particular, each one known. And it's a love that's given to us that we must share. Remembrance is different today, as it's not possible to do formal acts at the war memorial together. And instead there will be more individual remembering. We can't do the same rituals, but I hope we may find that as we're forced to do things differently, we remember all the more acutely, with meaning, thought, reflection, not just of the past, but also the present and the future. Soon in this service, we'll use the Act of Commitment prepared by the British Legion and the chaplains to the forces. Our remembrance leads us directly to pledge to strive for all that makes for peace, to seek to heal the wounds of war, to work for a just future for all humanity. They're not just empty words, any more than the poppy is an empty symbol, or the act of remembrance simply an empty ritual. It's for us to make something real of them, to remember these real people whose names are written on our war memorials, and to live, as the words say, as people who have been bought with a price. The end of that passage from John, this then is what I command you, love one another.